What's going on, everybody? It's Marshall. I'm the host of the Serial Progress Seeker podcast. On this episode, I sit down with Ben to talk about the ways that our team has actually incorporated philanthropy into multiple aspects of our business. We talk about how we walk the fine line of making these processes extremely genuine in nature. We talk about the tools we use to actually expedite the processes. And then we talk about the results that have actually been produced, both financially and personally. They say it's better to give than receive, but what happens when you're actually able to do both? This is episode 81 of the Serial Progress Seeker podcast, How to Grow Your Business by Giving. All right, man, I got to tell you about this article I came across the other day. It completely blew my mind and got me kind of thinking about some different things in regards to mental health. So check this out. I was looking at this article on CNN the other day. It talks, first of all, the headline grabbed me. I'm going to read this headline to you. It says, "Severe depression eased by single dose of synthetic magic mushroom."
Huh.
Now, so of course I'm, in my head, I'm like, oh, okay, you've got my attention. All of a sudden we're curing depression with drugs. Cool. Sounds fun, right? So
Right.
so check this out. They did this study at Oxford, obviously in the UK, that found this synthetic version of magic mushrooms, and it's
Okay.
actually improving people's depression. The people that have a treatment resistance form of the disease, it's actually improving their depression. So they found clear, meaningful improvements in as little as 3 weeks, which is absolutely insane. Obviously they were in the article was pretty clear. I'll make sure to link it on this show notes too, but they were really clear that, hey, listen, we got more studying to do. We got to learn a little bit more. But in my head, I'm like, dude, let's start handing these out. Let's start just passing mushrooms around. Better mental health for everyone. Is that not the coolest thing? I loved it.
Well, that's our whole all ball game here. Is like, what are things that you can do that change your life? By developing better habits. And
Yeah.
so we always talk about better habits, right? But
Yeah.
what's so interesting about this is a lot of the studies that are out there right now are very much starting to tie depression, everything that's going on mentally with us, with what's going on in our gut.
Yeah.
Very much what's going on in our gut. So it's like what you put in absolutely dictates what's going on up here. Not just because, I feel bad because I ate something bad, but like down to a very, basic level, your food and what's going on in your gut, not even your food sometimes, but literally what bacteria is present in your gut
Yeah.
determines how you feel. And so figuring out how to take care of this is key. And with this particular thing, I think it's interesting because I think a lot of people with depression, and this is not scientifically backed, because we don't have the science to get here yet. But I think
Sure.
a lot of what goes on with the depression is the loops that we get in, and not only do we get in habits, that we sort of follow day to day, but our brain gets into loops into how it's delivering chemicals to our body that dictate our mood. And the problem is once you start going down a path, it's very difficult to get out sometimes. And a lot of depression. Absolutely very chemical. So this is interesting. We've known for a while that people that do this, very much from a basic mushrooms standpoint, like not this synthetic thing, but that they are seeing drastic differences for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
After they do just one dose. And so actually getting some money behind this to study, I think it's very, very interesting. And, from a perspective of, how can we change a generation? This is a very interesting thing. And, and I think that's the key is like, what are the things that you can do both in your personal life and business life that not only change you, but change the world around you? Because like that's the thing. And I think that's part of the topic of today is when you can change the world around you, you're very much changed at the same time. And so, I think it's an interesting study and it's going to be interesting to follow this.
Yeah, absolutely. And we talk about, and the whole world talks about mental health all the time these days, and rightfully so, because it's so extremely important. But from our standpoint, we're, obviously we talk a lot about business and entrepreneurship and marketing and things like that, but man, we're living a life too. And we're trying to set up a lifestyle. And I think something that's really important, not only is it important to go out there and make money and make all the money you can and do well for yourself personally, but then being able to take that and pay it forward, just like you're talking about, is just so incredibly beautiful. And I think that's kind of what brings us to this topic today. We're talking about how someone can go about growing their business, or even honestly, even their personal life, just by giving. We've just come through, we're recording this a little bit post the holiday season. It's going to be in people's ears after the holiday season. Obviously, giving is a big priority that happens around the holiday season. But I don't know about you, man. It seems like after the holidays are done, some of that, giving aspect of all of our nature and stuff tends to sometimes go away. Do you feel that sometimes?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just part of the new year. We
Yeah,
we get into this sort of giving season, and then the new year we sort of switch into what am I doing for myself to better myself, whether it be lose weight, whether it be do something different in business that's going to get us a different result this year. It becomes very internal. And while I think, sort of crossing that threshold mentally into new year, new me, whatever is,
sure.
you can harness that in a very easy way. I think that it also can be very destructive because one of the things that we focus on here is always the concept of this business that I have, this life that I have is infinitely better when I understand that it's not about me.
Mm,
And I think that when we get into sort of this idea of how to grow your business with, charity and things like that, you know, there's a lot of interesting things that I've done over the years that monster return from giving to charitable causes. And I
yeah,
didn't necessarily get into these things. Just I was taught that's what you're supposed to do when you're successful is you're supposed to do that.
sure.
But if you really understand what you're doing, you can grow a business so much faster than anybody else on the planet if you start aligning yourself with charitable organizations and you start making it a part of your business.
No
And
doubt.
I think that, a very interesting topic that I want to get into today is how do you do that? How do you do it the right way? How do you make sure that you're not putting yourself in a position where it looks like you're only doing it for your business? And I think that's the scary thing. A lot of people out there, that I've actually taught this to in the past, are like, well, I got to be really careful because I don't want to it doesn't feel like charity if I'm doing it for my business.
Yeah,
At the end of the day, I think that, my reply always has to be, um, if you really care about the charity, who cares how you got them to their goal?
that's
You
right.
know, and that's the thing that I've always been into. So I'm super anxious to kind of share some of the hacks and some of the stories of
Yeah.
how we've grown businesses over the years with charitable organizations, and yeah, I think it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Well, I got to tell you, so, one of my absolute favorite things about being a part of this serial progress seeker team over the years is how, man, everyone on our team buys into sort of a global mission, right? So, like, there was this
Right.
one time in my very early days of being part of the team that I can remember you saying something, and it has literally stuck with me ever since. And I remember you saying that the mission of Serial Progress Seeker is to save the world by saving other businesses, right? And that's something that forever has stuck with me. The first time I heard that, man, I was absolutely floored, and here I am still talking about it. And I've been lucky enough, to be a part of some pretty extremely philanthropic organizations in my career, but there's always just been something that's just, I don't know, beautiful about the notion of assigning your success to the success of others, right? It just
Yep.
it's a good feeling. It makes you feel good, but it also, at the end of the day, it can grow your business. So let's start there. Like, tell me about kind of when you first developed this idea about, your idea for saving the world and wanting to make it your mission to help other businesses thrive. Where did that come from? Where was that born from?
Being poor myself.
Uh,
And I don't mean like really poor. Like I don't want anybody to think, oh, Ben was like dirt poor. Like this is not what I'm talking about. I just mean there was a time in my life where I got out of school. I was extremely in debt. I didn't have a whole lot of money to run a business. I did have some help. I had some money to start a business, but I had to be very, very careful. Probably like a lot of people out there, you maybe have saved some money up. Maybe you came into, a loan. Maybe you came into some money from a family member that believed in you and invested in what you were doing, and
mhm.
you didn't want to squander that. Like
Yeah,
you took it very seriously, and that's the thing. I'm a big believer in, every opportunity you have to take advantage of, and you have to take seriously. But you know, when I first got started, it was very much okay. You've got this runway, and that's it. And so there wasn't a lot of money for me to grow a business in terms of advertising and things like that. So as far as exposure goes, I wasn't in a position early on in my career as a chiropractor, as a marketer, either one, to spend
Yeah.
a lot of money on ads. I just didn't have it. And I would have loved to have had it. That'd have been great, but I didn't have it. And so, I had to figure out ways to get out there. And so for me, it was always about networking at first. It wasn't, there was no, if I do this, with a charity, I'll get all this exposure. I was just like, I got to just be where people are.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I need to be in a place where people who are serious are. It's not just where people are, it's people that are serious.
Right.
And so very early on, I remember I got a lot out of volunteering for local organizations like the Lions Club.
Mm.
Like, any civic organization like that, you've got Kiwanis, you've got lots of different things, right? Where it's very much a organization of business owners,
Yeah.
but they're all very focused on a singular cause that improves the community and the world around them.
Yeah.
But also, I got to be a part of some organizations that were very big with like cancer, and cancer was a big focus for me because my mom had it when I was very little, when I was like, in kindergarten. My mom
Right.
had cancer. And so I got involved not only in, some bigger cancer organizations, like the American Cancer Society, but I got involved in some cancer organizations that were very locally focused. So it wasn't like, hey, we're funding research. We're buying insure for
Yeah.
people that have cancer that need some way to supplement their diet because they can't do normal foods anymore. And so, how do we get people rides to their chemo appointments? And so I
Yeah.
got really involved in these. And what I started to realize very, very quickly was the amount of people that were in business and were very serious business owners like me that were involved in these organizations because exactly the same reason. They had
Yeah.
a family member that was a part of that. Lions Club, they believed in the sight thing. Lions Club is very eye focused. And so you start to align with these people, and it's not just because that they want to network, it's because they want to network with other business owners, but they really, really want to put themselves into the cause.
Sure.
And so I just joined these organizations just to get out of my office and to meet people, because I knew that the easiest way for me to grow my business without having the money to advertise was just to go meet people. And hopefully if these people liked me, they'd send their family and friends to my office.
Right.
That was it. It
Yeah.
was very, very low level in the beginning.
Yeah.
But what happened was far more than I expected. Being a part of these organizations, it was a flood of referrals. It wasn't just, a few here and there. It was a flood of referrals. And not only were these people in the civic organizations and the, other organizations that I was a part of, not only were they coming in, but they were sending their family to me. And it was
Mm.
just because when it came down to it, man, people want to send people to people that they like. That's it.
Yeah.
And if you are a part of an organization that you believe in the same things, if you show up and you do the events together and you're in the trenches working on these events to raise money and to do these things, people want to send people your way. If they have to do business in a certain niche, then they're going to pick you over every other competitor that you have because you were there in the trenches with them. And not only that, but they're going to send other people, and those people are going to send other people. And you just sort of get in that mode with being a part of charitable organizations. And a lot of people think, oh my gosh, this is a lot of time. No, usually it's an hour a week. That's
Right.
it. It's an hour a week. I'd show up for lunch an hour a week, most weeks. And then every so often I'd have something extra that I had to do. So it wasn't a lot of time, but there was a lot of benefit to it. And early on, all I really focused on that was very, very helpful for me was showing up. It's making sure that every single week I showed up and I was a face that was there. And when I was called upon to volunteer for something, I volunteered. I didn't have a whole lot of money to donate. I didn't have a whole lot of money to buy ads, but I had some time. And so I tried to donate that time in a way that was appropriate. And it's amazing how very, very quickly I got a reputation for being someone that was always there to help. And, if you're that person, then it absolutely translates. And I think that's the thing, is it's like all of us out there that are in business, I have people all the time tell me, well, I'm having trouble getting customers. I'm having trouble getting referrals. I'm having trouble getting all these things. Stop talking about your business. That's
Mm.
it. Stop talking about your business. Stop trying to get people interested in your business just by talking about the benefits of your business. If that's not working so well for you right now, go put yourself in a position where you're volunteering your time And really, really quickly, your business just grows because people want to know how to do business with you. That was the thing. Nobody gave a damn that I was a chiropractor, but the fact that I was a chiropractor early on, when they needed a chiropractor or somebody in their family did, they were sending them. I can't tell you how many calls I used to get from random people saying, listen, I've been to this doctor over here and I'm just not getting well. I don't know if chiropractic is right for me, but what should I do? And oh,
Yeah.
by the way, I'm friends or family with so-and-so in the Lions Club. And they said to give you a call.
Hmm.
And that was it. Most people were coming in for a free consult for me just because I was a friend of a friend. And then they became a patient. They became a customer. And so, I think that's the thing is it's right now, my big piece of advice to anybody that is just like, I'm just not getting traction. Where can you show up for an hour a week where you're donating your time to be amongst other business owners that are doing something that is bigger than what your business or their business is? And if you can do that, you're going to see a massive influx of business come in, not only that first month, but that second month. And then it just becomes an avalanche of people going out of their way to do business with you instead of your competitors, because of how you've positioned yourself with some sort of charitable organization. So that's to start. That was the very low level thing that I did that I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like, just show up. And it paid off in huge, huge ways in the first 2 or 3 months. Within the next year, 2 years, huge return on those hours spent. And I tell you what, if you can put an hour in somewhere and you can get the kind of return that I got just from showing up that hour, it's worth it times 100.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. I mean, we both know people that are involved in charitable organizations and NPOs, and it's insane how much value they put to the currency of time, right? That's for so often they're looking just for people's time even more than money, or things like donations, whatever it may be. Sometimes it just takes time and energy, and people forget how valuable that currency can really be.
Yeah.
It's insane. But I think, and something I've noticed too, for the across your different businesses, I've seen you actually incorporate giving into those as well. I've seen you, using charity as part of, maybe a sales pitch, or supporting a cause through, different use of your different tools, whatever it may be. So talk about some of those different ways that you've used giving and charity, across the different businesses that you've been involved.
I think it's, anytime you've got a product that you can tie to a charitable organization, and, anytime someone buys that product, a portion of what, the purchase price goes to the charitable organization,
Mm-hmm.
you're giving a person that last little push over the fence.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of times we've got, I look at the pool of customers that we have and that we've built over the years. And, every time we run a sale, not every one of my customers buys the product.
Yeah.
It's just the way that it is. That's okay. You can run a business doing very well off a small percentage of people buying that are in your customer base. And so the idea is, what are the things that you can do that put people over the top? And so, I have some organizations that I really believe in. And so when we can tie sales to, hey, and when you buy this particular product, we're going to donate a portion, and be specific about the portion that you're going to donate.
Yeah.
But we're going to donate a portion of those sales to this organization. And a lot of times people are fundamentally good. People want to give to these things. And when they can get something that they want in terms of one of your products, and at the same time feel like they're doing something to put good out into the world by a percentage of their purchase going to that organization that they also believe in, a lot of times that's all someone needs to get over there. Now, somebody may be saying, well, Ben, isn't that kind of shady? Isn't that kind of, is it, you're basically, leveraging a charity to get sales? I don't care. As long as I
Yeah.
can get more money to put into a system, you got to keep in mind, my goal is to sell more products, period.
Sure.
That's what I want to do in my business, because that pays my salary. It pays your salary. It pays the staff salary. It pays all of our salaries. Right. And, we can continue to be a force for good because our business continues to run and we all keep getting paid.
Right.
But the thing is what is the goal of the charity? To raise money for these goals that they have lined up. If I can be a piece of that puzzle, and I can add something that will help raise money that they didn't have before, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
And so, it took me a while to sort of get over that too. I was like, is this the right thing to do? And then I was like, wait, what is my goal? My goal is to grow my business. It is to raise money for the charity. and to get attention for the charity,
Yeah.
and if I'm accomplishing those three things, every single person involved in the transaction wins. And I think that's the thing you got to keep in mind. Did the customer lose in this transaction? No.
Mm.
Did the charity lose in this transaction? No. Did I lose in this transaction? No. Everybody ends up winning. And so, what do you feel bad about? And I think that's the key. And so incorporating, charitable organizations into your sales, I think that's key. Whether you're a salesperson going around and talking to individual businesses, whether you're selling digital products, anytime that you can do that, it's big. But I think the key is make sure that you're doing it for charitable organizations that you actually care about. And as long as you're doing that, I think that it works very, very well. And just one of the tricks that I think is incredibly important. But we've got several more.
Well, and that's and something you said right there at the end, I think makes perfect sense. It's got to be something that's true to your heart, but then that also lets you kind of, you connect with other businesses or other like-minded people who have that same sense of lay on their heart, right? Like, and then,
Right.
boy, that kind of, really cultivates a relationship when you've got, a chiropractor and a restaurant owner working together to help this cause or whatever it may be. And it really talk about building community. We've talked about building community a lot on this podcast, and that's just such a good way to do it. And I think I can tell you, firsthand from some of the things that we've done together and things that we've done even separately that these methods actually produce results. Like actually
Yeah.
going out and helping other people is like extensively proven to help your business. That's just the way it is. And I'd love for you to speak a little bit to that. What kind of results have you seen grow in your business through giving and charitable organizations and philanthropy and all these different aspects? What kind of results have you seen?
Well, I'll just give you kind of a hack here,
Yeah.
and that speaks to some of the results, and then we can get into some specific, things. But one of the things that I realized early on, back when I had no money to advertise, was this: the more that I got myself involved in charitable organizations, the more I got put into positions to speak for charitable organizations. Now,
Mm.
this is very important for everybody to realize that has a business. If you were involved in a charitable organization and you don't mind speaking for the organization, if they put you in that position, then the organization will put you in that position. And that's the thing that you have to realize. All of these organizations typically, they want their funding going to their cause, so are typically, they can't be in every place that wants to go speak about it. So one of the things that happened to me very early on in my career as a chiropractor is I was on the radio all the time,
Mm.
like all the time, but I never paid for it. I never paid for it. That's the thing. I could not afford to pay for a lot of radio advertising when I first started, but radio advertising would have been a great way, I knew, to get people through the door for my chiropractic office.
Sure.
But one of the things that started to happen very frequently, about every 2 months or so, I was speaking on the radio as a representative for an organization that had nothing to do with chiropractic, had nothing to do with my business. And so, I would go speak for St. Jude's, and like, when they were having this stuff, we would talk about it. I would go speak for the American Cancer Society. I would go speak for the Boy Scouts. And
Yeah.
these are all things that I was involved in, and they would put me on the air. And I never talked about chiropractic on the air.
Yeah.
It just wasn't something that was the interest that we were talking about. I would speak about the mission of the organization, but every time I was introduced as, chiropractor here in town over at Atkins Chiropractic, the DJs that were interviewing me on the morning shows, and literally there were morning shows that I would literally hop from one morning show to the next morning show to the next morning show. I would literally hop studios and be on 3 different stations in one morning. And I would be talking about a cause that, like I said, had nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And the cool part about that was, when it was all said and done, was identified every single time as, this is Ben Atkins from Atkins Chiropractic. And they would not only introduce me that way, but at the end, they would throw me a plug. They would
Yeah.
say, go see him if you need this. And I think that's the thing that you have to sort of get into your business, is how do you get other people talking about you and giving a recommendation to you without you having to do it. And I think that far too many times people are just into puffing themselves up, and they're not into puffing up, the causes that they're after. All you have to do as a business owner is position yourself as someone that lifts up a community. That doesn't have to be a local community. That doesn't have to be like a town. It just has to be the community that you're involved in. And whether it's an entrepreneurial community, whether it's a group of people that are interested in the cause, what community are you lifting up? You can build an entire business just by being the carpenter who is also a huge supporter of your local Lions Club.
Yeah.
I mean, an entire thing. And so that's the thing is if you are the person that is super locked in and is a super huge supporter of some sort of charitable organization, it is almost impossible for your core business not to grow, even if you barely talk about your core business when you're in these places. People just want to do business with you because they like you and you have similar beliefs. And so from a position of, hey, what am I doing as a, somebody that's, promoting a charity? It's just find your five. And this is the big hack here. Find your five charities that you want to support. Figure out how you can support them on a regular basis, how you can rotate, how you can make sure, okay, I'm going to this one this week, I'm doing this week. And what will end up happening is you will build this large community between these five charitable organizations that when it comes to doing business with this kind of person, this niche, which is your niche, they're going to send business your way. And that business is going to send more business and more business. And after you've been doing this for about a year, you really don't have to do anything else. That alone is enough to build up your business. And I think far too many people don't employ this strategy. And I tell you what, the fun part about it is not only do you get a lot of business, but it feels pretty damn good when you look yourself in the mirror at night and you realize what you've put out into the world while you were growing your business.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's a huge return from it. And, it's something you said there just kind of made me think too, that, so often either as business owners or, marketers, entrepreneurs, people in general, we're always looking to find our own megaphone that speaks for us.
Right.
What you just said lined it up perfectly for me, that, the way I find my megaphone is go be a megaphone for somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you're saying. And I think that sounds so good because it makes all the sense in the world. If I can go speak on behalf of this organization, this business, whatever, then guess what? It's just like cosmic waves, comments constantly coming back to you. What you give, you're going to receive tenfold. And I fully believe that. And it's a big piece, I think, of what we're talking about. So let's get back to where I wanted to make sure to touch on this before we got away from it.
Sure.
It's talking about results. Because I know you've seen good ones. I've seen you put it into action before, and be honest with you, it's fun to watch because I know how kind of lit up you get when you get to talk about supporting, ABC organization or whatever it is. And so talk about the results you've had, whether it's, I know you've sold websites and supported organizations. You've done all these different things and supported different organizations. Talk about some of those experiences and how those results have gone either for your business or the other businesses.
I think that one of the most fun ones that we've done is we get into this mode of we'll do goes into my digital business where we're selling digital products and how to's, right?
Yeah.
And we'll sell, let's say, we'll sell a product that's, let's say, $299, and that product will be something that teaches you how to do something on the internet to market your business,
Right.
and what we'll do is, for a particular period of time, and this is incredibly important, for a particular period of time, this particular sale is going to be open, and every time someone buys, they are not only getting the product for themselves, but they are supporting the charitable organization. Typically, when we do this, we see a 20 to 30% bump in sales when we attach a charitable organization to it. Now,
wow.
I will say this. Yeah, it's a big number,
Great.
right?
That's great.
But I will say this. It's not something I want to do all the time.
Sure.
And I want it to be special. I want it to be something that when we actually do it, people understand that we mean it. I think if every week, if we ran a sale that had something like that attached to it, it would start to lose its effectiveness because of, kind of a banner blindness. People are like, okay, what charity do I,
Yep.
It just gets lost. So we
Yeah.
like to make it a special occasion thing. And so, when we run a sale like that, it's always something we believe in. It's always something that is big. And I think, one of the ones that really sticks out to me, like to get very specific with this,
Yeah.
is when the pandemic first sort of hit. One of our big concerns at Serial Progress Seeker was kids that relied on school lunches to be one of their major meals of the day.
Yeah.
And without those school lunches, we didn't know what was going to happen. We hadn't faced this in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And so one of the key things that we really focused on was what organizations were out there that actually, helped fill in this gap. And so we ran a sale that was very much attached to this, and we made a pretty significant donation to one of the organizations that was big on this at the time. And it made us feel less helpless in a very helpless time. I think a lot of people were when the pandemic hit, from perspective of business, very much felt like we don't know what's going to happen in the next little bit, and we didn't either.
Sure.
We didn't either.
Yeah.
But one thing I did know that I could do was I could be helpful. Even if my business decided to go under, which it very much didn't even come close. There was not even a close period because of there was demand for what we were doing, and
Sure.
we worked from home anyway. So it wasn't like we couldn't get to the office. But one of the things that I have always said is, if I go down, if my ship goes down, we're going to go down helping people. And that was sort of something that we very much took to heart right when the pandemic started. As we were going through the pandemic, was we were very much looking for, okay, everything's upside down right now. How can we be helpful? And it's funny, when you are somebody that's helpful and seen as helpful in a community, people go out of their way to make sure that you stick around.
Mm-hmm.
Period. And,
Yeah.
and I think that this comes into something that's very important. A very important lesson for any business out there is not only how do you sell a lot of your products, how do you market yourself, in your products just on a regular basis. How do you make yourself a linchpin in a community? How do you position yourself where if you went away, the community is always worse after that? Like, how do you put yourself in a position where people would be completely lost if you were gone?
Mm.
And that's the thing. It actually, I mean, like, listen, we all have good products. Otherwise, you don't stick around real long, right? But the companies and the businesses that really stick around, it's good products, but it's how do they change the communities that they're involved in? And a lot of times that has very little to do with your product. It has to do with the social impact that you actually have. And so from a position of supporting charitable organizations, I think that's the key. Now, here's what, getting back to the actual numbers, the question that you were asking, we are just almost consistently across the board over the years. We see between a 20 and 30% increase in sales when we are directly using it as a marketing tool. When we're saying, we're doing this sale because we want to support this organization, and when you buy, this percentage of your purchase goes to this organization.
Yeah.
And every time we do that, we see a nice bump in sales, which is great, because that percentage is usually the percentage bump is usually the percentage bump that we get to send over to the charitable organization. And so we usually end up making probably about the same amount of money. And this is important. You're like, well, if we're making the same amount of money after the charity, why would we do this? Because of the social capital that you bank.
That's right.
This is the key. I cannot tell you how many times over the past few years somebody has hit me up on a random Facebook post or a random Instagram post or some social media, and they said, listen, one time I had the chance to interact with you, or one time you popped up in my feed and you were doing this, and I have never forgotten it. And that's why I follow you. That's why I continue to pay attention to you. That's why, out of all the other voices that are vying for my attention, you will always be one of those voices. They don't say it quite like that, but
Sure.
that's the idea.
Yeah.
And so I think that the lesson here, if I could leave anybody with anything about what you're actually doing when you incorporate charitable marketing into, your business, it's this: you have to stop looking inward and saying, what can I do to grow my business? Now, a lot of you think you're not being selfish because you have staff, you have a team that you're also supporting them, you're helping them support their families. And you think, well, I have to sell a lot because of that. That's great. Like that, being a business owner, when you do it the right way, is a very great place to be, because you get to be involved in a lot of lives and affect a lot of lives just in your organization. But if you can, this year, if you can shift your mindset to thinking, if I just take a percentage of my time and somehow make my business a linchpin in these 5 charities. And I make myself and my business something that is so ingrained into their culture that they are going to have a tough time. If I ever go away, you will never go away,
Yeah.
because everybody involved in that organization will go out of their way to support the person in the business that has always supported them. And if you want to really put an insurance policy in for your business to make sure your business is always around as long as you want it to be around, start ingraining yourself in these charitable organizations and these communities, and you will never want for money. You will never want for money. And the amount of business that comes your way, both in good times for you and bad times for you, will be huge because you were there for them in good times and bad times too.
Mm. Yeah, man, that's beautiful. I love this conversation. It just makes you feel good. And now I'm, you know, to be honest with you, I'll be straight up with you. I had a couple more bullet points, but I am tossing those aside because I see an opportunity here. We have this platform. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about a handful of organizations that you have supported over the years that you specifically love, because we're going to throw them some love on this podcast. We want to talk about them. I'm going to include them in the show notes. It just makes you feel good when you're able to help these organizations out. So just give me a handful of ones that you've kind of pointed to, and you've touched on them a little bit already, but give me a handful that you typically support and Serial Progress Seeker as a team supports.
You know, I'm always very, very big on how do we reach kids at an early age to make sure that they're on the right path. And so Boys and Girls Club of America is absolutely huge for me.
Love it.
I believe that there are so many kiddos that has been an organization, that has been big for them at
Yeah.
some point in their life. So Boys and Girls Club has always been a big one for us. Yeah, just absolutely huge. Another big one for me is when you can find, and this is, I very much support cancer research organizations. Don't get me wrong. I think those are good,
Sure.
but I'm very big on you as an individual finding your community's local cancer support
Mm.
stuff. And so in just about every community, yes, there's the American Cancer Society, the big ones, and please support those. Those are great.
Yes.
But find the smaller organizations that are very much trying to get people, make sure these people are getting nutrition and they're getting people to their appointments when they have to drive to the doctor. And you'll find them, and you'll have people talking about them. So those are very, very big for me. And like I said, I can't put a name on them because they are so stinking small, but they exist. And
Yeah.
if you go look for them, you'll find them. And almost every town I've ever lived in, there was, and they were always underfunded, and they were always, doing their best to get there. But very, very big. The other ones that I really, I'm really big on is to this day, I'm a huge supporter of the Lions Club.
Yeah.
And as we get older and our vision starts to go, you really start to get this. But I have seen so many good things from my Lions Club experiences and really being involved with the Lions Club. And so, very near and dear to my heart is the Lions Club. And you know what I think that I'd love to do is, I'm going to get yours now, so I'm coming to you.
Okay. Yeah.
But what I want to do in the show notes for this podcast is I want to put kind of the top 3 charitable organizations for everybody in our organization.
Oh,
So
that's cool.
if you go to the show notes page, you guys, we have a very diverse group of people that work here at Serial Progress Seeker. And so I really want to highlight their charitable organizations too. So on that note, man, what are some of yours that you're very, very big on supporting?
Yeah, man, I'm in the same boat with you. As far as supporting kids in any single way you possibly can. I loved like the YMCA. Always
Yeah.
been a big supporter of like the local YMCA's for the same reason you said about the Boys and Girls Club, is because they're supporting kids at an age when it is very important for them to be supported, and a lot of times those kids in those situations don't have the support that they need, and they're able to come to this place and get it for a little portion of their day. And I think that is so absolutely huge, and I think it's wonderful. So I've always enjoyed supporting the YMCA. Obviously, I lived in Memphis for a while, so I'm very close and akin to St. Jude. I cannot speak highly enough about that organization, and I know it's one of those that everyone on earth raises that flag, and I'll tell you what, it's for good reason. It's because
Yeah.
the work that those people do in helping these children's families while they're having to go through the toughest portion of their entire lives is just unbelievable. And anytime you hear one of those stories, it breaks your heart, but it warms your heart at the same time, because you know that they're getting help from places that they just absolutely would not be getting help from. Another one I got to plug, and I spent some time working for this organization, and I grew to absolutely love them, is 4-H.
Yeah.
4-H is a huge, one of the largest nonprofit organizations in the world, and for the same reasons. They help kids, especially in rural communities, help them kind of develop some skills that maybe they might not have access to. There's a lot of like STEM work that goes on with these. I've seen these kids out working with robots that are diving to the bottoms of pools and lakes and pulling things out, and I've seen them, developing all of these really cool things from, everybody hears 4-H and you think it's about showing cows. Well, yeah, there's part of that, but there's a whole lot of educational stuff from the outdoor world, from scientific elements that are coming into that. So those are three really, really big ones for me. I love those, and I love the idea of bringing everybody together, because you're right, everyone's kind of got the things that tug at their own heart and that they feel very strongly about, and any support we can throw to any of those, I'm all about.
No, I love it. And I think that's the, final word here is from what is our strategy? What is our strategy when it comes to charitable organizations? Like I said, if you need to boil it down to something easy, pick 5 and figure out how you can be a linchpin for those 5. It doesn't mean that you're going to be 24/7 with these places, but how can you be someone that's helpful? How can you be someone that shows up to help? If you can do that, what's going to happen very quickly is those organizations are going to send people back your way. And those people that they send your way, if you do a good job, you deliver a good product, they're going to send more people, and it just avalanches over time. It shouldn't be that simple to build a business, but it is. It actually is. And what's really, really great is people not only will remember your business for this year and what you did this year, they'll remember you forever. And they will go out of their way. They will drive hours. They will look for you online when maybe you've changed websites. Like, they will find you because of what you did in that organization and how you touched their heart. And so for me, the easiest way to build a business when you don't want to talk about yourself, and that's an awkward thing, and that affects a lot of us, is we don't like being the center of attention, which is weird, because we do this podcast and it seems like maybe, but I have no desire. I like sitting in my dark room and playing music and talking marketing and, talking about changing the world in terms of how do you get better. I don't necessarily want to be the face all the time. And so the easiest thing for me to build a business and not have to talk about me and how smart I am, because let's be honest, I'm not, is to put my time and effort into something that's bigger than me. And if you do that in your business, things are always going to go well, in good times and in bad. So hopefully that's some advice that you can take and put it into your own business. And I think very, very quickly you'll see the results. And then over time, you're going to see huge results.